Well, actually, with you last Wednesday began the Leonardo Da Vinci material, and then went into it in earnest on Sunday, where I talked a lot about him and who he was. And I won't go through all of that again tonight, but you can pick up the CD if you absolutely need to know that. And or I guess it's on YouTube now. But he said some things in his journals that are worth considering today for you, me, about the creative process. And tonight we're going to consider an idea where he said, "He who can copy can do." See, he received his artistic education, as many did in those days in the Italian Renaissance, by copying the work of others. We're copying that love you two just sang about, and we're copying the love that Lisa had us affirm and speak about. We're replicating it, we're reproducing it. Every time we think, and every thought's a prayer, and every thought's a choice, every experience is a choice in front of us, whether to live in love. As Course in Miracles puts it, live in love or fear, or love or apathy, love or stasis, you know. And imitation can be the sincerest form of flattery, but it perfects the art. You know, back in the day, I'm working up a class on the history of New Thought for a group of ministerial students, and it'll look a lot like the From Whence We Came class, but they don't need to know that just yet, because it's, you know, there's only so much ground to cover, and there's the ground. Well, back in the day, they were trying to figure out how healing worked. Particularly a fellow named Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. He was trying to figure out how his own healing had occurred, because he was supposed to have tuberculosis and was supposed to run its course. And its course would be short and deadly, as it was for many of those days. And some things occurred, and he survived, and he thrived, and he went on for some ways as a spiritual teacher. And he had a student named Mary Baker Eddy, who came to him for healing, as many did. And she stuck around, and she was brilliant, and asked him, and I'm not sure whether this had occurred to him before she asked it of him, or if he'd been thinking this all along. There's just volumes written on this. But she said, "Do you suppose this is the science that Jesus Christ used to heal?" And he supposed that it was. And that was the beginning of what we know as Christian Science, or literally the science of Christ, rather than just the art of Christ or the special dispensation of Christ. The fact that, you know, Christ was the only Son of God and came down and did this remarkable thing. Well, that would have been lovely, wouldn't it? That would have been just great. But then he's gone. He's back, you know, ascended. And now where are we? And we wait for his return, and we stumble around as best we can. Or there was a principle of wellness and wholeness that was already here that he identified, and he couldn't take it with him, because it's ubiquitous. It's part of all creation. It's built into the foundation of things. You can't extract it. You can only activate it consciously and direct it along certain lines by the activity of mind. Well, Thomas A. Kempis wrote an amazing book called The Imitation of Christ, and the idea there was that we should live as Christ lived, and live up to his moral teaching and his love for all humankind and all living things. Limitation's a good place to start, but it's not a good place to stay. See? Imitation leads ultimately to originality. Do you like music? You two do. We love your music. You know, they have now what they call, and have for a long time, cover bands. You know, a cover band or a cover group. So what do? They get up and they perform music that everybody already knows. But all of those artists who do all of that music, they're not in the house tonight, but the cover band is. So they'll say, like, we're going to have a dance, you know? And so we're going to play a bunch of songs. We're going to cover the material of the original performers. What every cover band wants to do is write its own stuff. And eventually, they may not all, you know, but most of them do, and in the group, and they'll eventually break out and do that. And I'll never forget, there was a kid years ago by the name of Scott Saleo, who I heard play over at Lisa's eyes just narrowed. He was playing at One She's. You know, One She's, the restaurant in Old Town, it caught fire. I think it's reopened now, or it's about to be or something. Man, it was there for years in Old Town Spring. And there was this kid, I was in there one night, way down the room, this long, narrow room, like from here to the west doors back there. There's this kid sitting on a stool playing a guitar and singing, and nobody paying the slightest bit of attention. And I'm a good 30 yards from him, you know, but I thought, he's pretty good. And so afterward, I went and got his business card. And I called him up one day. I said, would you like to come to Creative Life and play some music for us? And we had him here. I need to connect with him again, because we kind of lost touch when we went to the shows that we have now. But in the old days, before we had such a talented cast of people to put on these shows, we'd get Scott in here on a stool. And he'd hand out laminated song sheets to all of us. They'd had stuff on there. The guy must have had like 200 or 300 songs that he knew right off the bat. And we all knew them too. And so we'd say, number 62, you know, and he'd play it, we'd all sing along, and you know, the kind of stuff from the 60s and 70s and 80s, the kind of stuff that was on the radio, and it was wonderful. But one night, maybe the second time or third time that we had him here, kind of deep into the evening, he said, would you mind if I played something I wrote? And we were all like, no, we don't want to hear what you wrote. We want to hear number 62 again. No, of course we said, sure. And he sang a song, and it was great, you know? And it took him, he had to get his nerve up. And he figured we were nice enough people, you know, but it was really good work. You have your own work to do. This is what we mean. You know, like Lisa was saying, it's not enough just to say God is love, because it is abstract and kind of aloof. God is love. Mars is cold, you know. It's all kind of out there. She says, God loves you. Or if we want to be wordier about it, we say you're the embodiment of God's love. You are the experience that God's love is having in the world by means of you. Well, it's not enough to say that Christ came and had great power, or that Buddha came, or that any of the great spiritual teachers came and had great power. It's not even enough to say that that power is still here. It's closer to enough to say that that power is used by you every time you think, and every time you speak, and every time you act. And when you realize that power is at hand for you, you are an original thinker, and you're an original creator, and you create stuff that is off the grid, off the scale, things that no one else has ever possibly considered. And if that's alarming to you, realize it doesn't have to be all that loud and bright, you know. It doesn't have to be something that immediately attracts the whole world's attention and puts you under this spotlight. It can look like it's just a slight tweaking of things, but it changes everything in the same way that if you're piloting a boat or a plane or any kind of craft, a slight, Tom knows this from the Navy, the slightest tweak, 1 degree starboard, and you're off in a whole new direction. Just a slight movement of things. I saw the cutest animal video, and I'm not a huge animal video person, but there was a thing on the BuzzFeed, and it was, if you've had a rough week, here are 32 funny things you should read. And I haven't had a rough week, but I like funny things. And so number 5, I can send this to you if you're interested. Number 5 was this. You like animal videos. Okay. They're not all animal videos, and I got to tell you, some of them are kind of rugged, because they're funny, right? So some of them are a little rough. But the number 5 on this list is the cutest thing. It's this real short video. There's this little girl, okay, stands about yay tall, which makes her about, what, 6, something like this. And next to her, she's standing in the kitchen of her home, and next to her on the floor is a kitten. The little girl turns a cartwheel, and the kitten tries to. I mean, it is adorable. It puts its little arm up, and then it can't quite figure because it's not built like her. You know, where it's got extremities coming out in 4 directions off the trunk. It's got 4 extremities coming out in 1 direction off the trunk, right? So it just can't, but it looking at her, and you can tell this kitten loves this child, and probably has almost sort of a maternal thing, you know, connection of some kind, where this is what we do in our tribe. Because I'm not entirely sure that cats don't think we're cats. You know, stunted or weird or odd-looking cats think that we're cats, and dogs the same way. And this little girl, you know, like children can do, does this cartwheel, and the cat tries to do it also. And I thought, that's a beautiful and wonderful thing, and what an honor to the child, you know, that you've got, your cat feels close enough to you that it's going to want to try to emulate your behavior. But here's where the originality comes in. That cat can do things that child can't. That child, as gifted an athlete or a gymnast as she might be, she's not going to jump flat-footed onto the top of the refrigerator. And that cat can do that. So you have capacities that your mentors don't. You are the next version. You are the evolution of all who came before. And we get to hold on to that for a little while. And then others come after us. And what we should want more than anything else is for the others who come after us to realize that they can surpass us. Because otherwise we're working at cross purposes. You know, it's like, I want healing for the whole planet, unless I don't get credit for it. You know, it's that kind of thing. So wait a minute. You know, we're not going to be there to see the final results of all of this stuff. So we've got to want for the next and for the next and for the next. And while we're at the peak of our powers, we do what we can and we move things forward. And if you follow sports at all, and our baseball team could use some treatment for tomorrow night, but that would be outlining. We don't do that kind of thing, but come on. Come on, get with it. But if you follow sports at all and statistics, in sports, the new model of, I can't think of the word now, one of you will know it. It's like your, how am I coming up with that word? Your biometrics, the thing you were just talking about.
Epigenetics?
Epigenetics, yeah, it's kind of like that. The new way they have of gathering statistics of performance amongst athletes. It'll come to me as soon as I don't look for it. How it used to be you hit the ball to the center field and the center fielder catches the ball, it's an out. Now they hit the ball to the center fielder. It's what route does the center fielder take running to get under that ball that's been hit, and how does that route compare to all the other center fielders, you know, and how many seconds does he or she get there, and what, you get the picture. Well, in tracking all of this stuff across all of the major sports, people are doing stuff now they couldn't do 20 years ago. They couldn't do 50 years ago. How is this happening? Because every time the bar is raised, there's buy-in at the higher bar. Then this becomes possible for us. This stuff that we teach that's new thought, that's religious science, was scandalous 100 years ago. It was outlawed 200 years ago. 300, 400, 500 years ago, you went to the stake for it. I mean, whole bodies of literature were created in secrecy to communicate this information. The humans had the power within themselves to shape their own destiny. A tyrant will want to keep that information from you at all costs, that you can shape your own destiny. Because the tyrant will want you to think you need them, and you need their system, and you need their structure. But now look, now it's the cat's out of the bag, and this teaching is out there, and it's turning up in so-called mainstream religion, and it's all over TV, and there's a whole industry of self-help and stuff out there, and nobody raises an eyebrow. Of course people have the power within them. Of course, and they say this is how ideas are generated and considered in the cultures. When the new idea first occurs, it's ridiculed and possibly outlawed, and then it's ignored. And then it's accepted as having always been true. It's an obvious thing. And so you say to people now, do you know by the power of your mind you can shape your own destiny, you can shape your own circumstance? Well, of course I know that. I mean, everybody knows that. But not everybody wants to. But now it's in the common mind, and it will not be denied any longer. And what it requires of you, what it offers you is safety. What it offers you is the sense of destiny and the sense of eternality, that you're going to live forever, albeit not in this body. You know, it's a very comforting thing. What it offers you is the idea that God loves you and that God is you as love, and so on. And that's great. That's what it offers you. Here's what it asks of you: everything. Everything this teaching asks of you. It's practice. I don't ask it of you. Lisa doesn't ask it of you, okay? Nobody met you at the door with an ask. But the practice of this teaching asks everything of you. Because it's not just your Sunday thoughts. And it's not just your Wednesday night thoughts. And it's not just, we were talking about this in the class we had earlier this afternoon. It's not just the people that you understand. And it's not just the people that you like. And it's not just, you know, we're one big tribe on this planet, and in every situation, in every circumstance, we have the choice, love or otherwise, love or otherwise. But one who can copy, one who can admire, can do. If you have ever admired anything you ever read or heard or saw, if you've ever admired any spiritual teacher that you've ever been apprenticed to or had any kind of connection with through their work, where it's like, whoa, they really seem to have it all together, or even these memes that Lisa puts on our Facebook page and stuff that are inspiring. There was one last night. It says, what you think, and there's this kind of humanoid sort of shape, and next to it, what you are. Did you put that up? You're looking puzzled. Yeah. And what you are. And what you are is just light. It looked like, you know the movie Cocoon? When they take their bodies off and there's just this light. That's what you are. Over here is what you think. What you think is the body of your opinions, the ratchet that goes around. But what you are is just pure light. If you saw something like that and you admired it, you thought, oh, that really helped me. That was really great. Then, because you saw it, your job is the next chapter of that. Now, what do we do with this? What do we do with this? A huge number of you who have come to Creative Life over the years have gone on to become spiritual teachers overtly. I mean, presenting yourself to the world as spiritual teachers. All the rest of them are spiritual teachers without necessarily saying so. But you've been caused to cross paths with this teaching for a high and holy reason, which is somebody needs to hear it from you. Right? And I know that you know, when I say that I don't necessarily mean you drag them in here by the scruff of their neck. You know, that happens. And once in a while they stay and don't scurry away. But a lot of times they're like any being dragged anywhere. It's just, you know, eyeing possible exits as soon as they can. But your responsibility is to be a bringer of peace into every situation. presence of love into every situation, presence of, if nothing else, a de-escalation of tension in every situation. And this we can do. We become that which we think about. We become that which we dwell on gradually. And the more you think about yourself as a spiritual being, the more the spiritual aspect of your nature will begin to take shape. So that miracles happen, or that's kind of an abstract term too, wonderful synchronicities. Let's call them that. Miracles are nice and all, but a great synchronicity. So in closing, so I want to hear some more music. I got a really quick story for you that's related right to us here at Creative Life. It's really cool. So we have this copier. When you get a copier, you have a business, you get a copier. I realize well into this, it's sort of a racket. Maybe it isn't, but that was my judgment. It's sort of a racket. You can't buy a copier. You got to lease a copier. And they charge you a lot of money for this thing. And when your 5 years is up, they roll you over into a new copy, jack up the price a little bit more. And so basically, it's a company store kind of thing. And every 5 years, you get a spiffy new copier, and you pay money for the rest of your life. Well, here at Creative Life, because we try to be good financial stewards of the donations that you make, eventually we caught on to this. And when the latest 5-year lease on our copier was up, we said, we're not going to take it anymore. We started channeling the who. We said, we're not going to take it. And they said, okay, well, you paid enough money and you got enough equity in the thing, another $200 and the thing is yours. You also can't just turn it in easily. You have to arrange, if you want to give the copier back, you have to arrange for it to be crated and shipped. This costs hundreds of dollars. They don't come get it, because if you don't want to be rolled over in a new one, they're done with you. Well, the thing was working fine. It had all kinds of bells and whistles we'd never used and never would use. But as a copier, it was making copies, which is what you want. So we paid the $200 buyout fee and got to keep the thing, and that was about 5 years ago. So it's basically a 10-year-old copy. Well, the copier sits over there humming away, and it's been doing just great until recently when it seized up. Every now and then it'll seize up and it'll jam, and you pull the paper out, and there's always a little bit of paper that doesn't make it out. Well, apparently all the little pieces of paper that hadn't made it out all ganged up inside and caused just a major seize up on the inside of this machine, and so wasn't nothing happening, coming through it. I happened to bring this up Saturday in our class because somebody wanted something copied. So I went into, I went into this whole story about why the copier was. One of the students said, I used to be a copier, repair person. I am retired from a major copier company. I will have a look at it. And so the next day, Sunday, she came back and she had a look at it. Right after we ate. And as soon as she wolfed down a plate of food, she ran over and looked at the copier. An hour or so passed. I went in there. She's sitting on the floor surrounded by paper, soaked in sweat. The AC was on, but she was fighting. She said, I don't have it yet. She said, will you leave me a key? Because the afternoon was wearing on, and I said, yeah, are you sure you want it? Yeah, no, leave me a key. So I left her a key. I got a text from her 3:30 that afternoon. She says, I'm afraid of damaging the drum, because the drum is very delicate and it's costly and blah, blah, blah. And she says, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But she says, can you give me the name of the company that you leased it from? All right. I looked them up. They're out of business. I think there is justice. Well, anyway, they're out of business. I Googled the name of the brand of the copier. It's kind of a knockoff brand. And another company came up. She was at the same time doing the same thing. The company that came up for me was down in Houston. The company that came up from her was right out here in the Spring. What she wanted to do and was willing to do, this is so cool, is she says, I want to take a class in your copier. I want to get the parts manual, I want to get the service manual. She knows how to fix these copiers, but she said, I want to take a class in your particular copy. So she called the company out here on student airline, and she explained the situation. I gave her the service manager. So my name is, and I'm not going to say this for recording, but my name is, and I used to work for XYZ Corporation, and I'm looking to do this. And okay, I'm going to have to say it. And the guy on the phone says, Linda? It was her boss. She retired 20 years ago out of the copier industry. And this guy on the phone had been her boss. He says, this is your church? Has this thing? Yeah. She says, I need to figure out how to do this. He says, I will meet you there.
Oh my God.
Monday morning. I will meet you at your church, and I will repair the copier. I will show you how to repair the copier. And anything you need going forward, parts at cost. Isn't that great? That's a wonderful thing for creative life. But here's this one piece I didn't tell you. Is in Heartfelt Living, we teach treatment. In Heartfelt Living this past week, we divided up and we treated. And we had a person in the class who had a very serious situation right then. And instead of just saying, well, we're going to treat about it, at some point we treated, boom, there on the spot. And so Linda, when she got home on Saturday, not having attacked the copier yet, treated. And when she got home on Sunday, having attacked the copier and been stymied, treated again. Doing what we teach, which was picking up where she left off in the first treatment, rather than saying, well, that obviously didn't work because the thing isn't fixed. She said, now I continue to know. I continue to know. And that's what we're going to do in a minute, is continue to know something. She treated. And if you ask her how all this came to be, she won't say, well, it was a lucky thing that Ray worked at this place, or she won't say it was a Google search, or she won't say it was this or this or this. She'll say it was treatment. It was a demonstration of treatment that caused this to happen. This guy was looking to help somebody. She was looking to help us. The universe had them cross paths, and something's going to get copied off that machine that's going to make a difference in somebody's life. I know that for a fact because it already has. So let's know together now there is one life, one power, one presence. And I will speak here of a continuation. We're not calling up something that isn't so. We're not summoning up an energy that's reluctant at all to participate. We're building on the grace and the power and the presence and the beauty and the wonder that's already established around us. And it's written in Scripture about establishing an encampment in the wilderness. And what that means is in a place of nothing, a something occurs. And it puts down roots. And it's there to stay. And it is this knowing of singleness with our source. That therefore the power and the wisdom and the understanding present in the creative agency of this universe is accessible immediately right here to each one of us. I speak this word of the creative wonders of each of us, how we are original thinkers and original creators, and we're putting words together and musical notes together and physical substances and materials together to fashion things that are unheard of in the world. And I speak of a continuation and a wholeness in the life and health and well-being of our beloved Ruth, knowing that the body she wears is created in intelligence that's already present, that cannot be absent, that cannot be exhausted or depleted in any way. Infinite intelligence working through her is restoring her to vivid, radiant health and well-being. And as I speak this word about her, I speak it about her beloved Carthel as well. That right where Carthel is, there is comfort and support and love and deep sense of security that all manner of things shall be well with her beloved. And all who surround this, all the professionals, are guided by infinite wisdom as they too participate, and I speak this word about Dick. And likewise for him, there is an agency of healing within him that is not limited by any name, constrained by any statistic. It is free and new and spontaneous at each moment. And it is moving through him now to restore him to the very pink of health. And for this knowing, and for each one of us, and our loved ones, and all who have spoken tonight of the need for prayer, know with me that this one power is right there doing that which needs to be done. I release this word now into universal law. It receives it and acts upon it. Law that only ever says yes. In deepest gratitude, I let it be so, and so it